Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Me, You, and Who. Today, we're diving into a story that's not just about surrogacy, but about the power of trust, perseverance, and the unexpected connections that can shape your life in the most beautiful ways. After experiencing her own struggles with infertility, Kacey went on to have 3 successful IVF cycles on her own. Knowing her own struggles, and after her family was complete, it was put on her heart to help others. After her own struggles with infertility, Courtney had a successful transfer of her own, but when it came time to grow her family further, surrogacy was the best option. Courtney and Kacey matched, and I am so excited for you to hear these two women whose journey through infertility and surrogacy is filled with emotional ups and downs, but also moments of pure joy. Together, they'll share how they navigated the process, the importance of finding the right match, and what it was like when all the waiting and hard work finally paid off on delivery day. Their relationship has evolved even past that big epic day, and the friendship remains. Please enjoy this beautiful story. Me, you, and who? Who knew it would take more than 2 people to have a baby? In a world where infertility is no longer a taboo topic, this podcast will take you through all of the different aspects of surrogacy and egg donation through the lens of many who walk this journey in different ways. My name is Whitney Hall, and I am a 2-time surrogate, now turned surrogacy coordinator for Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, the very agency I used when I chose to carry for 2 amazing families. With this podcast, it is our goal to help guide and support you as you learn about what it takes to grow a family in an alternative way, as well as hear inspiring and beautiful stories of how this path has changed lives forever. We can't wait for you to hear about just one more way happy families are created every day. Hello. Welcome, Kacey and Courtney.
Hi.
Hi, thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad you guys are here. Okay, for our listeners who are not watching, why don't you guys introduce yourselves so they know whose voice goes with who?
I'm Kacey.
And I'm Courtney.
Yay! Awesome. And what is so special about this fantastic meeting is that, Kacey, you are the gestational carrier for Courtney, which is so fun. Okay, so to get started, I want to hear just from the both of you, how did this even, like surrogacy, how did this even come into your world? Just tell me all of the things. Courtney, I want like, how did surrogacy become the thing that, the path that we were going to go on to grow your family?
Well, that's a pretty loaded question there.
Absolutely.
It certainly wasn't the first thing that we tried.
Yeah.
But I would say that through some failed 3 total attempts to grow our family, this was secondary infertility for Andrew and I. We do have a son that I was able to carry, John Ellis, where we did have to do IVF with him as well. But really didn't feel as quote traumatic as that second try through those failed attempts to grow. And so I would say after those, which we started trying with John Ellis when John Ellis started trying for the second when John Ellis was 1. And so by the time Tilly was born, John Ellis was 4.5. So that's quite a bit of time in between. So that in that time period, I tried my hardest, did some really crazy holistic things to get my body to carry. And unfortunately, it just wasn't going to happen. Fortunately, we had that one embryo, which, in hindsight, I feel like when you're going through trauma, you don't really know the reason for it. There's no meaning at
Mm,
that time, but we held on to that embryo. For some reason, I was like, okay, I'm not going to try again, which I know for myself that was pretty hard because I
yeah.
was determined. And so in that time period, we looked into adoption. We kind of hung around for a little bit, just we traveled. I had my sister has a friend who did surrogacy through surrogate solutions, and this was kind of thrown out a couple of times, not only from my doctor but also through my sister. And
Okay.
I wasn't as open as you would think I would be when that was being thrown out because I wasn't ready to have that conversation. But as time went on, I looked more into it, and I decided to look into surrogate solutions. This was the only agency that I decided to do just based off of this person who did it, and they had a great experience. And so that
Sure.
felt comforting to me. And
Absolutely.
so um, that's how we got there. And I'll end there so that Kacey can talk, because everything gets so much more beautiful. But up to that point, just for that listener who's listening, it's not all that it wasn't as exciting, getting to that point until Kacey was in the picture. It was like, it was
Mm,
more the unknown and the scary and the grieving of me not being able to carry until beautiful Kacey was, on that other side. And it was like, okay, like this we can do this. Like this is a possibility. Um,
mm.
so I hope that answers your question, that, because it's a hard question to answer on my end, since it really wasn't a part of my plan until it was. And
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much to unpack there. And yeah, there's just so much to unpack there. I think it's interesting that, you said, oh, it wasn't, it wasn't this exciting thing like people might think. And, I don't think that that's unusual. A lot of intended parents that I talk to, I always say there's so much of a journey before, either I as a coordinator or before any, surrogate comes into the picture. There's always so much of a journey prior to that. And so I don't think that's unusual. It doesn't make it any less beautiful. But it's not unusual because I think you're right. Amidst all of that, um, there was so much of a grieving process happening, whether it was, the grieving of the miscarriage, the failed transfer, grieving about the fact that, well, wait, I did this. Why isn't it working now? And I mean, there's just so many things to unpack there for sure, because I think there's a different level that comes, I think, with secondary infertility. And so I'm so glad ultimately it led to sweet, beautiful Kacey,
yes.
as you lovingly call her. But yeah, there's a whole journey that happens before we get here for sure.
Mhm.
Kacey, tell me your journey with surrogacy, like how you even were like, yep, this is the thing I'm gonna do.
Yeah. So mine's a little bit of a history as well. Um,
Yeah.
so we actually struggled through infertility ourselves. Um, my husband and I tried for years to have kids, and we found out we had some male factor infertility. And so at first, I didn't want to do IVF. So we actually tried
Mm-hmm.
we went through two adoption losses before I was like,
Mm,
okay, nope, I can't do this anymore. Um,
yeah.
and so then we decided to go the route of IVF, and I was very successful with IVF. We have three beautiful children now, all through IVF, and it was the only way I knew how to have kids. Um,
Sure.
and yeah, and then it had been a couple years since I had Kyler. He was my last one. And I don't know, God just put it on my heart that He was going to use my experiences through IVF and he really grew my heart for people not being able to have children through my own infertility struggles. And
Mm-hmm.
so he just put it there, and I was like, oh, I think I need to be a surrogate. And
Mm.
once that happened, I just started researching, and I found like two different agencies that first popped up. Um, and Surrogate Solutions was the first one that I like looked into. And since I saw their website, it looked good to me. I didn't know anything about anything surrogacy. I just jumped headfirst into it, and it was a wonderful thing, and I'm very glad I did it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I mean, that's amazing. I think there's something really unique and special about the fact that you did have that struggle and you knew what that struggle was personally, and then to be able um to do that for someone else. I mean, Courtney, did you, when you were going through the matching process, when both of you were going through the matching process, what was that like for you? Did you have, comfort in knowing Kacey had done this before? How did you guys feel? How did you guys know it was right?
Oh, 1000%. I feel like I can remember getting matched with Casey like vividly. And the
Mm.
crazy thing about that is there's not really a whole lot of like FaceTime interaction. I mean, you got this profile
Right.
that she's viewing, and then I'm viewing hers. And I, of course, can't see hers until she, I guess, liked ours first, the
Right,
matching process.
right.
But I remember her picture and her family on that screen. I remember all of it. And then um, I I remember it's hard because you really are kind of advertising yourself, and so a lot of that was me trying to figure out how am I going to get this other person to like me, and
Yeah.
I feel like Casey and I's probably first quality that we noticed in each other was the Lord and religion and God. And then another part of it that, like you mentioned, was the fact that she had gone through IVF before, and she's a nurse, and she treats her body so well. She's an exercise queen, um, and I respect that. It was my gut knew Casey was the one, and that it was easy. That part of it, like I said, there was all that, you know, the hard and struggle and the raw before, but once Casey was on that other side, everything changed. I mean, it's such a God thing.
Mm.
The stars aligned, and yes, that was good.
Yeah. How, okay, going from, because you had mentioned, as you were struggling before you even got here, it had been presented to you, kind of this alternative of, hey, have you thought about surrogacy? You had, kind of sort of started to look into adoption and things like that. How did you go from, I'm not ready, no, to, oh my gosh, like this is my person? How was that?
Well, so I would say that it took me getting out of my comfort zone and actually making a profile. Um,
Yeah.
because otherwise we wouldn't have been noticed, and we wouldn't have, been able to get to this step. And that took a lot. That took a lot. It was the unknown, like I mentioned before.
Mhm.
Um, and just, I think getting through that hard trial of me accepting that this is, follow that yellow brick road, just, move forward, and be okay with this. And it did take me a little while. And then I think I was told that when we had our profile that it could take 6 months, but after 6 months, they usually suggest that maybe you go with another agency.
Mm.
And I could be wrong on that timing. So I wasn't like, I was really on my toes, just kind of like, it's okay if someone doesn't notice us. We already have a child. Like, I was thinking it was going to take a little bit longer. than it did. And then we got a phone call right before Christmas. It was the best Christmas, and that's the time. And it was quicker than we expected. Thank God. And I think for a lot of reasons, because I don't know if you're ever really ready to make, we were ready, but this decision. It's almost like, okay, let's go for it. These were gut decisions. And I felt so good about Kacey from the very beginning. And I don't know if I was given more than 48 hours. I think that's what they give you to kind of say, okay, let's move on with the next step. More time to think. I don't know if that would have necessarily been good for someone like me or Andrew. So, I mean, it was so quick and scary and not scary because you're taking
It's
risks.
unknown. It's unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do feel like, that there were lots of reasons why I felt connected to Kacey, just over a Zoom meeting. I mean, it was so silly she's going to carry my child and then we're committing to each other over Zoom, but
Sure.
it felt so right. So
Yeah, those Zoom meetings, I always describe them as it's like a blind date and you're talking about reproduction.
I
No,
know
but
you're
you're
very
so
nervous
right.
going into it.
Right? Yeah. How are you feeling,
But
Kacey?
yeah, no, I mean, we were extremely nervous too. It's like, okay, like, are we going to present ourselves well in front of them? And it's like, you've only read this little bio about these people. But I think both of us said afterwards, once we matched, we were like, so they say, okay, we'll give you, a day or two to think about it and make sure this is the right match for you after you get off. And me and Matt were immediately like, nope, yeah, we're good. Can we email them right away and tell them? Or does that seem like too, like, you know,
Do I
crazy to
play
be
hard to
like, yes,
get? Do I?
immediately?
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. But then after we matched, Courtney said the same thing. They had the exact same thoughts of just that immediate, like, it was just very comfortable and very right.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that. I love that. So, okay, you both were like, "Oh my gosh, this is it." We knew it instantaneously. How did you guys kind of grow that relationship from we've read this little bio, we have these really great gut feelings about each other, to here now where, you like we're friends. We're beyond like of course Kacey, you've done just this amazing thing, but beyond that, like you guys have grown to become friends. I mean, how was that?
Mm-hmm.
Kacey, I mean, she never missed a beat. She kept me so updated. I never
Hmm.
I never didn't know about something, and I loved that about her. I always could trust that she was going to update me, and she was just over
Yeah.
and beyond updating me, and it was so wonderful. Um, I think that it also helped that I'm a nurse as well, and I was in the OB setting. And so when I knew which appointments she had, I kind of, had an idea of what they were doing that time.
Sure.
And Kacey would update me on blood work. And, it was just, I feel, and I remember Kacey using this word with our first Zoom meeting that it just organically would happen. And
Mm-hmm.
it did. And I think also what worked for um, was that Kacey has 3 kids and I have a crazy little boy. And so we both have, other things going on in our life. And I never wanted Kacey to feel like I was micromanaging or doing anything. I always wanted, and part of that, had she not been the way that she was, maybe I would have been different, but she made me feel so comfortable and she was genuine about everything that she told me. And so, yeah, I feel like, you know, it worked for us and it worked for me. We were 3 hours apart. So we can joke about this now, but weather was a part of a lot of things that happened with travel.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh my gosh, tell me more.
And so, I couldn't make it to everything, but it was okay. And Kacey understood. And really, I was okay with it. And I know that's God on my heart. I know that because I never had a moment where I had any freak out moment ever throughout that process, ever. And so, yeah, I kind of went off a little bit, not for the whole like our relationship part of it, but it did work the way that it worked. We were
Yeah.
organized, we kept each other updated, and that worked for us. And so I that that but that is because of Kacey, and that was amazing.
I
So I
think
think
you hit on like a key factor there was that word trust, because I think that's the base of any good relationship, but especially in this type of relationship. And the fact that you both had trust in each other of, I know she's doing her best. I know she's doing what I would do if I were in her situation, just all of those things. And that trust factor is so huge.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kacey, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, basically, like she said, that just that organic, kind of growing of a relationship, like I had said, I kind of wanted it to happen. I feel like it did just with that communication throughout. And of course, I felt like I wasn't communicating enough with her because, like this is her child, and
Hmm.
every like expecting mom is so excited about every little kick and, everything that goes on during a pregnancy. But when you're in life, it's hard to you know, constantly give those updates. Um, so I'm glad to hear that it was exactly what you wanted because I did not want to disappoint you with the, lack of
Hmm.
communication I was giving about, what she was doing or anything like that. Um, but yeah, you always gave me that assurance that it was great. And um, just now, knowing that we'll be friends for life and connected forever through this beautiful child, just I can't even explain like how it's grow and feel.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like there was also just that beautiful mutual respect of, you've got three kids and you have this crazy little boy and, everyone's working and like there is life that's happening. But,
Yeah.
gosh, Kacey, your heart is so big to think about, yep, that little kick. And I bet you reported it. And,
Hmm.
just all of those little nuances beyond just, yes, of course, we want to hear about blood work and how that appointment went. But yeah, like those little extras are always that's beautiful. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's what makes the journey a journey and just grows that relationship. What would you guys say was maybe one of the biggest surprises as you were going through, this process?
Hmm.
Um, for me, it was probably just how like easy it all went. Um,
Oh, love that.
because, yeah, but you go through so much to get to this point, like with our infertility
Hmm.
and with their infertility and everything. And it's all the heartbreak and struggles that you go through. And then we got here and it was just like everything just worked and it all went as we wanted and planned, with the transfer happening with one embryo, it happened and the delivery went exactly how we wanted. And it all just happened. And I still say it's just totally thing because he was the one that said, this is what you're going to do. And that's why he protected us through it. So,
I love that answer. I think that's great. It is like surprise because honestly, Tilly's such a miracle. And so it's
Mm,
so wild to think that I mean, first off, the birth of a child is just it's amazing and the most amazing thing. But to think that Tilly, was made through science and then inseminated into Kacey and is now here with me is just amazing. And it is such a
hmm.
surprise. This is what we wanted to happen. But for me, that girl 2 years ago that just never thought this would ever happen, it is a surprise. It's amazing. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, like this actually can happen. And and that's, I mean, that's all because of Kacey.
to have it go from that gut feeling and just, it's not real until all of a sudden it's real.
It's real.
Yeah, absolutely. What was that delivery day like?
Well, I love that Kacey said it the way that she did, because on our end, I mean, we weren't the ones going through the surgery. We were not the ones that had the nausea. We were not the ones, in physical, um, pain and through that delivery. But you never would have known. Kacey was just did everything so gracefully. Um,
Hmm.
but for us, it was perfect. It was beyond perfect. I can't, when you're living and through it, but like Kacey said, you look back and you're like, I mean, it just went exactly how I envisioned it to go.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah. From
There's
them,
something so
like,
beautiful about, I'm sorry, Casey. There's something
Oh,
so beautiful about you saying that, Courtney, to go from it envisioned how you went and how you got there, because you said at the beginning this wasn't how you envisioned you would
mhm.
grow your family, and then
yeah.
to
Mhm.
have that vision change, and then to be able to say, no, this is exactly what I wanted. That's so beautiful. And I think, again, there's just something to be said for um making our hearts bigger and being open to that. And that's just so
Mhm.
beautiful. That's so beautiful. And Casey, you are the thing. You're a part of that. You made that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
How was the delivery
It
day for
really
you?
it was great.
Yeah.
I think, like she said, just everything lining up, and even the little things like my husband and my sister both being able to be in the room with Andrew and
Mm.
Courtney as well. Like usually they don't allow that
Oh,
many people
a
in an OR.
party. It was
I
a
know.
party.
Yeah. So I had my people and they were there to get Tilly as soon as they pulled her out, and it was just beautiful. And the whole scene of, I just remember like laying on the table, seeing them over there by the incubator, and just getting their first glimpse of their daughter, and knowing, you know, I helped them do this. Like it was just a great feeling. There's really nothing else that can compare to it. And just getting, having my support people there, while also getting to see Andrew and Courtney over at the incubator for the first time, like seeing their baby girl. And just, I will always remember that moment of watching them get to see their first look at her, and just knowing that, I had a hand in this. And it's
Yeah.
an indescribable.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's something so
Yeah.
beautiful about, I remember I delivered both of my surrogate pregnancies via C-section, and I remember like the best moment in the world was just listening to mom and dad, like, the curtains close and they're like in, I guess it's a PACU, and they're, in that little, and then, oh my gosh, like she has your nose, and oh my gosh,
Mhm.
listen to his like little coos, and just all of the things that I just remember, like just at like
Yeah.
from the surrogate perspective being like, yes, that's the finish line right there. Like that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It
I
was
love
great.
that. I love that. What would you say, just aside from delivery day, because, that's just like the best memory ever. But what would you say is maybe one of the most memorable moments looking back on just the journey as a whole?
Well, one of the craziest, kind of like she said with the weather earlier, um, was the day that I had to go down to her clinic to get like approved by her physician
Yeah,
to do the transfer. There ended up being a major snow and ice storm, us and them.
of course.
Um, and I called the clinic and I was like, "Are you guys even open today? Like, if we come all this way, like, are you going to be there?" And I was like, "Okay." So my husband and I were like, "Okay, well, we, really don't want to reschedule this. Like, we want to get it going. Like, this is it. We don't want to make them wait. Like, let's do it." So we make it down there. took us, I think, like 2 hours longer than, we had anticipated, and it should be,
Sure.
but we made it safely, got to the appointment and everything. And then we were like, I think we just want to go home and, get back to the kids and everything. So we're like, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll make it. Yeah, no, we did not make it all the way home. We didn't get in a wreck or anything, but it got to the point where Matt was not feeling safe driving anymore. So we had to pull over and find a hotel. And it was not the greatest hotel, but we managed for the night and
Sure.
got back on the road in the morning.
Oh my gosh, what a
Yeah.
tale. Regular precious cargo, but extra precious cargo that day for sure. Oh my gosh. Tilly, what a story you've got, little bean.
Well, and I just love that. So Casey, she did not want that appointment to be delayed because you know how IVF is, we're all on our
Right.
cycles. So if that would have delayed us, and I know she was thinking about Andrew and I. You know, she was being you were so awesome that day because that took a lot. That was a lot of you could have just said, "All right, let's just, 1 month. What's 1 month?" But I think you know this, Casey, that with IVF, time is a big deal.
Yeah.
And a month would have been, not a month is just a month, but you knew that, and you made the trip even though there was bad weather, and that was awesome. Um, but that was also
Yeah.
the first time that we met. And
Oh
so
Yeah.
my gosh.
and so that was
Yeah.
great. And Matt and Andrew bonded about
Of course.
football, and Casey and I talked mostly about what was going to go on in the appointment. But you know, you don't take away the awkwardness, but you can feel that this is going to be good. This is going to be great. It felt right, especially to have Andrew and Matt, be able to have their own conversation without Casey and I. It's like, okay, well, this is all
Yeah.
good. So that was great.
I love that. I love that. And yes, I mean, there is kind of, just some of that natural awkwardness whenever you're meeting somebody like that for the first time. But there's almost this sort of blanket of like, we're all here for the same reason and the same goal. And there's just something
Yeah.
so beautiful about that whenever you are meeting each other in circumstances like that. That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. Courtney, what about you? What was kind of, if you're looking back, like one of your most just memorable moments from the journey?
Well, I probably going and seeing the heartbeat.
Yes.
I was so nervous. Of course, was guarded. I was preparing myself for everything,
Absolutely.
And Andrew I think he was in trial that week. A lot of the things he could not make
Ugh.
it to, which was okay. I actually kind of loved it that it was just Casey and I, because I think I loved it the way that it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that day I just remember taking the biggest deep breath after we saw that heartbeat and just being in the car, and I drove straight home, and I called all the people that have been praying for Casey and over this baby, which there were so many. I mean,
Mm.
just prayers all over. And I felt them. I mean, I'm like, get goosebumps even talking about it. So I would say that seeing the baby and Casey and hearing the heartbeat was so amazing, and just being able to take a little deep breath from that point, seeing
Oh
that.
gosh, yeah. You mentioned how we're guarded, which is so natural in this process. Did you, when you first got that beta test, so whenever you get like we pee on the sticks, we've got the two lines, or in this case, hey, we've got numbers that say all good things. How did you feel, Courtney, when you saw that? Did you let yourself kind of get excited, or were you just, how did you feel?
I kind of based some things off of how Casey
Okay.
was. And I feel that Casey was cautiously protecting herself and me. And we talked about that. We would text and we'd be like, okay, this is we got to leave this up to God. We don't have control over this. And I remember it was I don't know if it was day 5 or 6, and I texted Kacey and I was like, "Have you tested?" Or maybe that conversation happened. I don't know if I asked her. I don't know, Kacey. Did I ask you specifically if you tested, or did you tell me? I can't remember.
I I can't remember at this point either.
But I remember Kacey being
Yeah.
like, "I got a positive. It's just a little bit lighter than I want it to
Okay.
be," but it was like she was saying yes, but not. It was good. It was good because I still had to kind of sit back, and so did she, because it was so very early at that point.
Sure.
And so I think that until we got that first beta, and the beta was, I think the numbers
Hmm.
were
Yeah.
great. And then Kacey called me, and I think we were just able to just, cry and be happy and enjoy that moment, which I do believe sometimes that moment can be robbed of fertility patients because you're so cautious throughout the whole thing. But Kacey and I got to enjoy
Hmm.
that moment together and say, "She's pregnant. Like,
We're
we're pregnant."
pregnant.
So,
Yes.
I was just going to say it was a difficult thing to test at home and know, like, okay, it's not just me that's going to be like disappointed if this, doesn't happen. And
Yeah.
you can get so many false positives and things can change and all that. So I was cautious and timid with my response to the positive, just because I did not want the letdown to be even more than what it had to be if it was, even though you can't really do much about that. Like it's a huge letdown no matter what. Um, but I wanted to try and just be cautious, but still excited and not rob, completely of that joy. But I agree. It was when we got that
Yeah.
beta. I was driving to my family's in Kansas and I got the call from the clinic and I just burst into like this joyous like tears. Like it was just the most wonderful moment, to know
Mm.
that it was truly happening.
I
mhm.
love that. Knowing that you both were being kind of cautiously optimistic, when did it feel really real? Was it that heartbeat? Was it 12 weeks? Like, when did it really start feeling real for the both of you?
For me, I think it was the beta, the first
It was that
beta.
beta.
Like that moment, I
Yeah.
was the biggest like relief and yeah, like okay, this is happening.
Mm.
Like I don't know, I didn't have as much fear of like a miscarriage after that.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
And I would probably stick with the heartbeat once I saw that. And then Kacey, like I mentioned before, she would give me updates on how she's feeling. I loved, I know I wasn't the one having the symptoms, but she would tell me that she's tired. And I'm like, "Oh, great. Okay, symptoms are
Yeah.
symptoms. Symptoms mean something.
yes. So she would keep me updated in that sense, and I would enjoy those updates. I didn't want her to not feel great. I wanted, of course, wanted Kacey to feel better and get through that first trimester, and she had her long work days, but yeah, I would say that communication and that helped with it all
Yeah.
feeling real. I mean, it truly, and this probably helps with it being a second child, since I had the experience of carrying myself. So when Kacey mentioned
Mhm.
it, I could relate,
Yeah.
and that helped me. That helped me through that process because I understood what she was talking about.
I love that. That's amazing. Oh, that's beautiful. So, being, on the other side now, what would maybe be some, advice, words of wisdom that you would want to give to a, another intended parent or maybe another woman who is
Mhm.
thinking about being a surrogate?
Um, on the surrogate side, I would say just like I did jump into it, but I jumped into it knowing like that this is what I was being told to do. Um,
Yeah.
but definitely you have to have the heart for it. It is,
Yeah.
I mean, it is a difficult thing to do, to carry someone else's child. Um, I think a lot of my family and friends were worried for me mentally afterwards. My husband took off the whole next week of work, because he was scared that I mentally was not going to be able to handle it.
Mm.
But I feel like if you truly are invested in it for the right reasons, that you know from the start, like, this is the plan. This has never been my child. It never will be my child. Um,
Yeah.
but you are just helping grow God's kingdom by carrying someone else's child for them. And I I never struggled with anything post-op depression, or, longing for Tilly to be mine, or, anything like that.
Sure.
So I think just going in with the right heart and the right mindset makes all the difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's that finish line. It's like you said, seeing Courtney with like holding Tilly for the first time. Like that was it.
Hmm.
That's the why. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
What about you, Courtney?
Um, I mean, I would say trusting the process. I think that, at least for me, um, it was hard for me to really, we mentioned this before, um, envision it happening this way through
Yeah.
Casey. But when we decided to go that route, this was what God's plan is. And so trusting that, and really, um, going in full heartedly, and well, and that's when you kind of make that decision, right? I mean, if you're going to go do this, you're going to go do it.
Yeah.
And um, it and it takes a little bit longer than, I mean, I think that first, from when Casey and I committed to each other, we didn't implant until
Mm.
May. And so you've got those months of still just kind of up in the air, is this
Mhm.
actually going to happen?
Sure.
And so, and it's kind of complicated. The legal stuff, that part of it was, I remember Casey and I, we were kind of like, okay, let's get to the fun part. Let's get to the fun. And so really throughout that part too, you've got to trust what you're doing, and you have to trust. And Surrogate Solutions did such a good
Mm.
job at keeping Casey and I informed
Yeah.
and guiding us through that part of it.
Mhm.
And so that took a lot of trust too. I mean, we just had to say, all right, well, they know what they're doing. That's why
Sure.
we are using this agency. So I trust them. And so yeah, I mean, I'd say to that person on the other end to just, I mean, like Casey mentioned before, I mean, you do have to go in there into this with the right
Mhm.
mindset, and um but trusting that, at least with me, that it it will
Mhm.
happen. It will happen, and it did, and we got our baby girl, and it was meant to be this way, and in this crazy way, it was meant to be this way, and I that's I it was on my heart, like Casey says, like she felt this on her heart to help us, and that was one reason why I reached out to you guys about sharing this,
Yeah.
because it's very easy to kind of block out sad parts of your life,
Sure.
right? And there was that part of our life where we didn't think we were going to have another, and we trusted this, and then here we are.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that, the message that, and it's all because of Casey. And there are people out there, and God has these angels on earth that are willing to do this for these families. And it's possible,
Mhm.
and it seems so impossible. And I was there. I was that girl. And um, so just trusting the Lord, trusting the whole thing.
Mm.
And that's easier said than done.
Yeah. I mean, you're so right. It is easier said than done, but whenever you whenever you do throw your heart in it, gosh, it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. Okay, my last question, and this is a fun one. For anyone who knows me, they know I have a very codependent relationship with coffee. We're best friends. And so I always like to ask, what was the thing that filled your cup today? Whether it was literally or figuratively, what was the thing that filled your cup?
Okay, well, every time, and this is just God's presence in my life. And so this is filling my cup every day for right now, but these little squeezes and these little giggles and holding Tilly, and it's not necessarily in the mornings because mornings are hectic, but I
Sure.
will say that it will fill my cup later. Tilly fills my cup very high. But at the end of the day, Tilly and I have that moment where I'm putting her to sleep, and I I mean, I feel God in the room. I mean, it is amazing. It's just like, and I've felt this way. I mean, it's since she's been in my arms, I've felt that way, and it's hard to explain, and because it's just the feeling that I have. But Tilly is filling my cup. She is
Yes.
filling my cup. And I joked with Kacey the other day. I was like, I don't know when things are going to turn because, like, I'm thinking things are going to turn soon. But when is it going to get rough? Because she has just been the best baby,
Oh,
and so I haven't really had any mom complaints because we all have them, right? We're tired. That
it's
things happen.
natural.
She's
Comes
not
with
the
the process. Yes.
it comes with the process. So for right now, today, and 7 months in, she has been filling my cup every
Oh,
day.
I
So
love that, Mama. That's deserved. I love that. What about you, Kacey?
Um, well, my literal cup is water with collagen.
Oh, look at
And
you.
this actually, speaking of, is a cup from Courtney's friends. They got me this big, huge care package after I delivered of
Oh,
stuff just to take care of me and myself. And it was the sweetest thing. And throughout the whole pregnancy, I would just receive these random gifts from Courtney and Andrew and their mom and
oh,
friends. And it was just like all these surprises throughout, which was so sweet. And they friended me on my social media and said, hey, just want to let you know we're praying for you today, and just the sweetest things. So I still think about them all the time with my cup. And
yes.
let's see, yeah, I would say figuratively filling my cup um would just be this interview today. Like, I haven't had much else today, but
Mm,
this has been great getting to see Courtney and talk about the experience again, just because it was so wonderful to go through and to relive and to share the joys of it and how
yeah.
other people can experience this too. So
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you both so much for being willing to share your story and being open and vulnerable. And I'm so grateful that we get to be here talking about it in this way. So thank you both so, so, so much. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Me, You, and Who. We appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed our discussion today. As we wrap, we would like to remind you of some of the ways that you can stay connected with us and be part of the Me, You, and Who podcast community. Firstly, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode and can stay up to date with our latest content. But that's not all. We also have an exciting YouTube channel where we share some bonus content, behind the scenes glimpses, and video versions of our episodes. Head over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button there as well. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when the new episodes go live. And for more exclusive updates, engaging discussions, and a chance to connect with fellow listeners. Be sure to follow us on our social media accounts. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Create a Happy Family. If you're interested in finding out more about creating a happy family, please visit us at www.createahappyfamily.com. Thank you again for being part of the Me, You, and Who community. Your support means the world to us. I can't wait for you to join us next time as we continue to share stories and journeys of creating happy families.